Hi guys, so today on my channel we are going to be talking all about semi-permanent eyebrows. If you are new to my channel, you may not realize I, about 3 years ago now, went and had my brows microbladed, and I had them touched up the year after, and now it has been about 3 years and I went back for my first touch-up. If you're interested in those first couple videos, I will put the links down in my description box for you to be able to go back and watch those if you want to see that process and how that happened. The first 2 times I went specifically for microblading, and I loved it because before I started, I had next to no brows. So I went in the first time, the second time I went in for my touch-up, and at the 1 year mark, I went and did another touch-up with the same person with the same service. Now it has been 3 years and they were just starting to fade. They were starting to look a little grayed out and they just needed to be touched up. If you are not familiar with this process, however, what this is this is basically a semi-permanent tattoo. And you might be going, semi-permanent and tattoo does not make sense. The reason this is a semi-permanent tattoo is this is not going as deep down as a traditional tattoo does to the bottom layers of your skin. This is just kind of doing surface layers. So over the years, they will fade, they will change color, and they will need touch-up. It's not something that you're gonna need to do consistently. Now it is much more accessible. There are more people to do it. There are different methods to doing the semi-permanent brows. So I had done some research and I found someone who is local to me here, and I talked to some people that I knew that had gone to her. They had loved the results with her. So I scheduled a consultation and appointment all in one because I already kind of knew what I was going to expect. Another thing that drew me to her was the fact that she didn't just do microblading. She also did something called powder brows. Now, what powder brows are they are, instead of microblading, which is someone taking a single blade and actually drawing strokes of hair on and depositing the color into those strokes, someone that is actually using a handheld machine with as small as 1 needle, could be 3 needles, which is your kind of soft version, or your classic version, which is what I have, which has 9 needles going through it. Again, it is 9 needles that I had done. I did the powder brows, and the reason I did this is when I went in and spoke with her, she had looked at my brows. They had faded tremendously. They had faded a lot. That is not typical to fade that much. Mine fade a lot because I use Retin-A products. That will fade because it helps regenerate your skin so much faster. So it also then fades that. Now, you can be super careful and try to go around them. I just am really bad about that. So in turn, I obviously had to have them touched up much quicker than someone would normally. She also said to me that the microblading, to do that again, either way, I would lose the actual look of the hair strokes that I previously had. So she asked me what I tended to do for my brows right now. Even with the microblading and me actually filling them in, it didn't look like it had actual brush strokes. So she had suggested doing the powder brows. And so with that, I thought that was the best way to go. I like my brows to look fuller. I like them to look like they're filled in. I'm not someone who wants that more sparse look. I like a filled in brow. That was what we decided to do. She sat down, kind of drew them out, made sure I liked the shape where she was keeping it, things like that, where the arch still was, all of that, and we discussed everything. Now, keep in mind, before I went to this appointment, there are a few key things that you have to always remember to do. You cannot go in the sun or have any sunburns or sun on your face for at least 3 days beforehand. The day of, you do not want to work out because working out actually opens up the pores. Working out actually causes your body to heat up and the pores to enlarge. Don't want to drink coffee or have lots of caffeine the day of the procedure. You want to keep that to as minimal as you possibly can. You also don't want to be taking anything that will thin your blood. You can take Tylenol, that is fine, but you don't want to be taking like aspirins or ibuprofens or allergy medicines or anything that the day of. Usually that's about for 48 to 72 hours before your procedure. And you don't want to drink any alcohol 24 hours before. So all of those things I was used to doing, and I made sure to stop that. Plus I had to stop all of my retinols at least a week beforehand. So when I went in, I was prepared to have the actual appointment and get the procedure done. Procedure itself was very painless. She actually numbs it first, goes through with the first pass. She did do 3 passes, and with the machine, it was very seamless. It actually was so much less painful than the microblading. The reason, and the microblading wasn't painful, it was more, here's what the key is. The microblading was, because it was a blade actually causing strokes, I could hear it, if that makes sense. So it was the sound of that like little cut, as bad as that sounds, that was more irritating. That's it. It wasn't painful, it was just irritating. So with the powder brows, it's just the sound of the machine. You don't hear anything, you don't feel anything. It is so quick and so seamless. She did add in on the first pass a lot of warmth to it because my skin has a lot of red undertones. We added that warmth, but then we added some cool back in on the second and third pass. What you are seeing right here, right now, is absolutely nothing on my brows. And I am a week and a half out from when I had the procedure done. They are still healing. The healing process, the actual full product and the healing process takes about 30 days. I will be going in for a touch-up right after that 30-day period. Again, I will be touching them up because she wants to go back and make sure if there were any spots that she might have missed, if I needed any darker, any warmer, anything like that, she can make adjustments on that touch-up. Now let's get into the day-to-day after this. So the day of, your brows can feel a little bit sensitive and a little bit kind of raw feeling because the numbing is wearing off. Plus it's basically kind of like a tattoo, not as deep in, but it's that just kind of opening up of all of that skin that it just might feel a little bit tight and a little bit raw. I didn't really notice that. I felt a little bit here or there, like more like if I went outside and it was windy, I kind of noticed it, but it wasn't anything that was noticeable or painful or uncomfortable. So the first 48 hours, what you want to do is take a wet, sterile gauze or cotton pad, and you want to use bottled water or some form of distilled water on that, and you gently blot and pat the brow area. Do not rub it. Just touch down and lift up, and that's going to help remove any pigment that has settled above the skin layer. Now I am going to show you this little cotton pad. This is kind of the color that is coming off when I did that. And I am going to show you this real quick. It is the cotton pad that I used the very first day. And I wanted to save this specifically so you would know this and not get nervous if you saw this happen. This is the color pigment from when I simply tapped down and picked up. It is picking up both the ointment that you have on there and any additional pigment. So this is what it looked like when it lifted that up. That is completely normal. After the procedure, anytime you are washing your face, you want to only wash it using Cetaphil. This has been true of the first person I went to and this. This is the only cleanser that is gentle enough for this area to be used at this time. After the 48 hours, you do not want to blot your brows any longer. You want your brows to start drying out and to start healing on their own. You want to use Aquaphor on a Q-tip and just simply draw it over the area while your brows are healing. And you want to put this on for the next 3 to 9 days to make sure that they are actually healing properly and they're keeping the amount of pigment and all of the color that you had deposited into your skin. From days 7 through 9, this is a little tricky. You don't want to get your brows wet. And you might be like, how am I gonna get in the shower or wash my face without my brows getting wet? What I did, if I was, as an example, washing my face at night, and I had makeup on that I was taking off, you don't want to get makeup in this area whatsoever. I would actually use makeup wipes first to remove all of my makeup, keeping it away from my brows. Then I took a wet washcloth and with the Cetaphil cleanser, again, don't get that cleanser at this point on your brows, and I washed around those areas. Now, when I was in the shower, I took a dry washcloth when I was washing my hair and simply place that over my brows when I put my head back under the water. Anytime my head was not back under the water, I simply just set the towel over the side. And when I was going to rinse something off, I just put that towel back on and rinsed my hair off under the water. Now, while they are healing, you need to avoid things like going out in the sun, direct sunlight, wear a hat, things like that. You want to make sure that you're not swimming. You don't want chlorine on them. You want to make sure that you're not in a sauna or a jacuzzi. You don't want to take a bath with the doors closed and get in a steamy type area, because you're trying to make these brows dry out as much as you possibly can so that they can begin healing and scab. Right around day, I think it was day 5 or day 6, I started noticing I felt like my brows were getting really itchy. It was just like, I wanted to go like this, but obviously couldn't. So you're gonna notice that. It's simple. You just have to not itch them. It's harder than you think. You have to make sure when they do start scabbing and the scabs are starting to come off, I know this sounds gross, guys, do not peel those scabs off. That will be removing pigment before it is ready to come off of your skin. That is the really hard part. Now, I am gonna warn you, I am inserting a clip here next. As mine kind of came off, if I notice them, I tried to keep the little pieces of skin just so you can see what that looks like. It is a pigmented piece of skin that has scabbed up and come off. Now, keep in mind, the first couple days, your eyebrows are going to be the darkest of the whole time period. After they scab and the scabs fall off, you will see the actual color that they are going to be. So what you are seeing here is what my brows will actually be. Now, when I go in for a touch-up, I will mention that I will probably ask her to darken them just a little bit more and to put a little bit more warmth to them, because if this is how my brows were with nothing on them, I would probably go through and touch them up with a little bit of warmth on my own. So when I go in for my touch-up in the next month, I will have her add more warmth to it and a little bit darker, because I do like my brows to be a little bit more noticeable if I'm not wearing any makeup at all. So let's talk cost. I get asked all of the time, and that is one of the only things I kind of wish I had mentioned more about in my first video, and that is the cost of this. Now, the cost is going to vary by where you live, by the technician you go to, so keep all of those things in mind, that this is just a general guideline. This is just the cost that it is for me in Maryland on the East Coast to have all of this done. For an initial appointment, whether it's microblading or it is powder brows, for the first appointment and the touch-up, my cost here is $400. That is pretty much in line with what I paid the first time. Now, for that $400, you do put a $100 deposit down when you make the appointment, and then you pay the additional $300 after your. If you go in 6 months later for a touch-up, it is $150. If you go in at the 1-year mark for a touch-up, it is $200. So keep in mind, these are just baselines of what my costs were. It may be different where you live, but just to give you an idea. I will post all of the information of Natalia, who I went to here in Maryland, down in the description box. You can go check out her photos in her gallery. It shows you before, afters. She has great before care and after care information on her site as well. And if you are in the Maryland area, she is amazing. I highly suggest going to see her, and I will be going back to her as long as I am living in this area. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know any questions you have whatsoever. If I don't know the answers, I'll text her and ask her and give you any information I can. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching and sticking with me. If you are not yet subscribed to my channel, I would love if you click the little red button right down below and follow along here. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching and sticking with me, and have a great day. Bye.